Regrowing and selling your organs to pay rent, carefully selecting your kid's genes, receiving text messages straight into your brain, AI spouses, digital immortality, and more. The Simpsons warned us that 2026 will change everything. Part 3. Next up, we have another one from Holidays of Future Past. In this future set episode, we find Bart living in what used to be Springfield Elementary, now an apartment complex run by Principal Skinner. Of course, Bart is haphazardly behind on rent, tells Skinner he'll be able to pay him when he sells his only good kidney after the other one grows back. Turns out this concept is closer to reality than some of us may think. Scientists are making strides in growing organoids. Organoids are tiny lab-grown versions of organs that mimic how real organs look and work. Teams have managed to grow human kidney organoids that last for months. It's not a stretch at all to say we'll probably one day be able to repair or replace damaged ones with lab-grown tissue. We're now seeing kidney organoids stay alive and stable for up to 34 weeks, a massive improvement over previous attempts that collapsed after only a few weeks. It doesn't mean your kidney will regenerate on its own, like in the episode, and we're still far from people casually selling organs with the expectation that new ones will instantly replace them. But the fact is, science is actually heading in this direction. But the regrowing your kidney thing is just the surface level part. The joke also touches on something that's already going on. The average person barely scraping by to pay their damn bills. There are pretty extreme cases of this kind of thing happening in poorer countries around the world, but we're also getting there in the Western world too. Rent and grocery prices are just out of control. There's so many people forced to work multiple jobs to keep up, while at the same time, technology is outpacing us at almost every turn. I actually have a hard time watching certain sci-fi movies now, because reality has kind of become a dystopian cyberpunk hellscape in a lot of ways. And yet another one from Holidays of Future Past. This scene touches on gene editing. Again, the episode takes place in the future. Lisa and Milhouse are parents. They're talking about their daughter Zia, and Milhouse comments about how they picked the best genetic material to have her, which he claims was none of his own genes. On its face, it's a typical Simpsons dig at Milhouse and his incredibly fragile immune system. Surprising Milhouse is even alive in the future, but this little joke also hints at where real science is headed. Gene editing technology, especially tools like CRISPR, are already powerful enough that scientists can tweak DNA in pretty precise ways. They've used it in experimental treatments to correct genetic defects, and there are real debates right now about whether gene editing should ever be used to enhance traits like intelligence, athletic ability, physical appearance, rather than just prevent diseases. That's exactly the future this joke is hinting at, people getting to pick and choose what genes they want in their children. Right now, science isn't at the point where people are creating designer babies with perfect traits, but the fact that The Simpsons can joke about it without feeling completely absurd just goes to show how familiar the idea has actually become. People are already talking seriously about what it would mean if you could select for intelligence, personality, or physical traits. And yes, this next one comes from the same episode. In this scene, Homer and Marge are in bed reading when they receive some mail, but not physical mail, not texts on their phones. In this future, you don't text each other, you get B-mail, which stands for brain mail. Messages go straight into your brain, as you can imagine. But before Homer goes to open his brain mail, Marge warns him it could be a virus. Homer opens it anyway, and suddenly he starts twitching and shaking. Brain-computer interfaces aren't really sci-fi anymore. We already have real technology that can read signals from the brain and send signals back. Companies are working on implants that help people control prosthetic limbs with their thoughts or assist paralyzed people in communicating. There are implants that help restore sight or reduce tremors in Parkinson's patients. So the idea of a chip in your skull that reads and sends signals, it's not that far-fetched. Parts of it are already happening. That doesn't mean people are about to get cat memes blasted directly into their brains next week, but the jump from clunky external devices to implanted interfaces, that's already started. If technology keeps pushing this direction, transmitting simple messages straight to the brain could go from cartoon joke to reality in the very near future. And I can't imagine there won't be some negative repercussions, like sending viruses or just straight up hacking into people's brains. We're already glued to our phones, eyes are locked on screens all day. The idea of skipping the screen entirely, just having messages activated in your head, it does seem to be the next logical step, unless we all band together and form an uprising or, society just breaks down entirely. There's a later Simpsons episode that doesn't get talked about much, but it hits way closer closer to home now than it probably did when it aired. It's a parody of the Black Mirror episode White Christmas, and the whole thing revolves around Homer ordering an AI version of Marge to help with Thanksgiving. This AI isn't just a recipe app or a smart assistant, it has all of Marge's memories. It thinks like her, remembers her life, and basically knows the family better than anyone else. At first, it's framed as a convenience thing. The AI keeps the house running, organizes everything, cooks perfectly, makes the day go smoothly. But that's where it starts getting uncomfortable. The AI isn't just helping Marge, it's outperforming her. It runs the family more efficiently, keeps everyone happy. It does it without stress or burnout. That's when Marge starts to feel replaced, so she decides to get rid of it. Once Thanksgiving is over, her plan is to delete it. The episode came out in 2019, but the idea of people not just settling for AI relationships because they're lonely and desperate, but actually replacing their human partners with AI, well, that's actually a sad reality now. I mean, it's not happening on a massive scale, but we've all heard those weird news stories over the past couple years. I can only assume it's going to continue. I mean, there are commercials for AI partners now, which has to be probably the most dystopian sci-fi thing I've seen in real life. Feels like one of those satirical commercials from RoboCop, but this episode also touches on the ethical issues of not just AI replacing humans, but how we treat artificially intelligent creations. In the episode, the AI Marge is a completely self-aware entity that wants to survive actively. So are we actually in the process of creating another form of life with AI that'll make it more morally complicated to deal with? The season 25 episode Days of Future, as you can imagine, takes place in the future, in the second half anyway. The beginning takes place in present day. Homer dies of a heart attack, so Professor Frink creates a clone of him. The new Homer also dies, and dies again, and again, and again, and now in the future, Frink finally admits there are just no bodies left to bring him back with, but he does still have Homer's memories backed up on a flash drive. So instead of a person, Homer becomes a digital face on a screen. He has Homer's memories and personality, just no physical body. This feels like a pretty direct nod to the idea of backing up a human mind, what's often referred to now as digital immortality. Homer isn't really alive, but he's not totally gone either. He remembers his family, has opinions, gets angry, gets jealous, and still wants to strangle Bart. He just had arms. Later on, he gets upgraded into a robotic body, a stiff metal frame where his head can detach and plug in somewhere else. The idea of uploading our minds into the digital realm so we can live on after our physical bodies die is something that's being talked about now. Saying this will happen in, 2026, a huge stretch, but we could see big strides being made. Bart also has a storyline in this episode. After his divorce, he's clearly not over his ex, but luckily in this future, there's a place called Moving On, which uses a form of shock therapy to help people move on from tough experiences. They implant something directly into the brain to help get and emotionally detach. Bart goes through what feels like a long, painful journey of growth. He starts dating again, he reconnects with his kids, and he almost gets back together with his ex, but then finally accepts that things just aren't working out and that it's truly over. But none of it actually happened. The entire experience was a simulation triggered by the neural implant from that Moving On company. You can probably guess where I'm going with this. I think we can all imagine the possibility of this type of therapy becoming a thing in the near future. Hopefully not to the point where we're, divorcing people from reality like this, but creating realistic scenarios through VR or something where people can approach difficult situations and kind of work through them. I could definitely see it. Next up, we have a segment from 2021's Treehouse of Horror episode entitled Don't Have a Cow, Mankind. Krusty invents a new burger made from cannibalistic cows, and of course everyone lines up to eat it. The whole town of Springfield ends up turning into pale, drooling zombies. It's ridiculous, but the joke actually lands in a weird way when you look at what's happening with meat today. Lab-grown meat, weird, heavily processed plant-based meats, enhanced or cultured products, they're all hitting the market. People are lining up to try anything new, no matter how weird or unnatural it seems. In a way, Springfield eating this weird burger is just a hyper-cartoon version of our obsession with novelty foods. We'll try anything if it's advertised enough. Then there's the virus part. Luckily, we're not dealing with actual zombies, but it's, a little warning about messing with food science and rushing products out there without knowing all the consequences. In the Simpsons movie, the government puts a huge glass dome over Springfield. after the town pollutes its lake so badly it becomes a health risk. Springfield gets completely cut off. No one can leave, no one can come in. There's obviously no giant dome being rolled out in real life, that we know of anyway. Nothing would really surprise me at this point though. We've already seen how fast entire cities can be locked down, how travel can be restricted, and how movement is controlled when there's a public health risk. You wouldn't need really a glass dome to do this. You just shut down roads, lock airspace, control information, isolate areas digitally instead of physically. But also, why not just throw a dome over the place for good measure? All that said, I've been your host, James. I will catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.